Welcome back once again to Creeper World 4. Thanks for joining me. In this episode, we actually are going to conclude the Farsite Expedition. There are no further secrets, no further surprises. Ever After is the final mission. Journey of a Billion Worlds begins with flying reptiles. That, of course, is a play on the well-known Chinese proverb. And this, I believe, is Danu up here. Okay, guys, let's start a tourney by doing some good, shall we? This world looks primed for life to return. Sarge agrees. Mission priority is total reclaim. Preacher says we're going to create a new prophecy for those seeds we plant today. We are the founders! And notice, nothing is misspelled. Although Hippie doesn't follow that rule. Turn the world from creeper to green. Are you kidding? I could do this a couple hundred millions times without breaking a sweat. Actually, spelling's right, just grammar not great. Traveling in peace. And ADA is even here saying everything is ready. So the founders are united, all 5 of us. Okay. So, if you've been watching this series and wish I had been doing all of the optional objectives, well, you're going to like this map because we've got to clear everything. The reclaim here requires us to get rid of every ounce of creeper. Not a speck can be left. Life, that'll actually take a little bit longer. We'll get to that. And then, of course, the totems and the enemies. So what we have is, this is obviously going to be our starting area with the wall, resource, terrain, storage, ready, etc. to give us a good start. We have 3 totems in this area. Got some read-on over here. We have 1 spore launcher with no spores, but what it actually does is worse. The 1 blob nest and no emitters. What we do have is all this breeder terrain. And if you remember from the Founders mission last time, there was some Crimson breeder. Only, that's not actually what it was. So, correction on that. It's actually called Crimsonator, apparently. And what it does is it turns any creeper that passes over it into Crimson. Or something very similar to that. Whereas, it doesn't actually breed any new Crimson terrain. So, I was a little bit off on what it does, but the impact is about the same. We have green R over here, and it's actual flying reptiles, by the way, around there. We've got buried urns, etc. But the breeder is where all of the creeper is going to come from. And that's going to need to be our target. Alright, if you've been watching the previous missions in the campaign, you know what I'm going to be about here. We've got the grid of towers. Going to get them going, then we get the miners going, leverage all of our energy storage to get the permanent production up. We've got the creeper flowing every which way. Got our reptiles flying about. And it's important to note this. Just over 100k creeper, and we're at the shutoff value. So this, and our base are actually not going to be in danger. Even though it looks like it with the energy walls getting destroyed and damaged over here. This is all going to settle out at a lower level than that. Do have to protect, of course, against blobs, and that spore launcher is special with eggs, as we will see. But we don't have to worry about it in terms of immediate creeper rush. And now we are up. So we're going to get snipers up. Because they're going to be our most important defensive implement. And then we'll get some mortars just to be knocking out a bit of creeper here and there in this area. Start lowering that level down. And porters. We're going to be doing a bunch of outposts. You can just launch out and attack in this map, of course. But I think it's a lot more interesting and probably better to just use the porters. Over here, of course, we can get some early terps, or rather early urns from the terp by doing that. We'll slap down a mortar and a couple snipers to defend this area. Of course, the mortar will be hitting all around wherever it's deepest to try to lower down those overall levels. So that's outpost 1. And then we will throw up another one over here by the read-on. And I don't care about the read-on for quite a while in this level. But I do like being over here by it. Particularly, again, for the purposes of having snipers and mortars up. And a third outpost now. This one is going to go visit the green R, but as you can see, there's more resistance here. So we do need to bring along some fun. We'll get some cannons going, couple mortars, couple snipers to head on over that way. Of course, with no air threats, don't need any read-on or other issues for dealing with spores that don't exist. Urns coming in. We'll do a fire range. And then all of you can slide up here now. Mortars I'm going to want on the north side of this island, because this breeder tends to like to crash it against the sides and then come back towards the island. So that's going to be the biggest direction of threat there. And then everything else I'm just going to sort of try to divide up. You know, snipers going in the direction of the enemy again. Let's see, we'll throw a cannon over there. And may not need this many cannons, but it's nice to have defenses in place, I think. And then we're going to put up a refinery and a porter. And you can see there's not that much room for green R to grow, but we don't need a lot. I just want a relatively small amount. Come over here, get refined into Liftic by the factory. Now let's throw up a couple more porters. We definitely have some more business with urns. Fire rate, energy collection, and I want both of these mortars out on these outposts to get one each as well. Then let's bring our next set of weapons online, and we're now ready to begin what's going to be the main assault. And I want to start that over here, this plateau, grab those urns, and then hit these totems. And that'll give us a nice operational area to head towards the breeder. By the way, look at this. Look at all these eggs finding their way along. They lay them in clusters. So that's what the spore launcher does that is so very, very special on this map. And we will get all of you over here. We will definitely want the snipers on this side, as always. And perhaps we slide out our cannons a bit, do some reorienting. And of course, probably a good idea to supply them with energy. I do want to get some more porters up as well, because we will want more support over there once we start expanding. And I could build more than this, but this will be sufficient. We will go ahead and grab some Liftic from one of them, and the others will be energy. So, we're in position. Let's now begin throwing up some towers. I do want to haul my Terp over here to get those urns. I could build another one, but why not just use the one I have? And then, pylon out here. Let's push out a bit with our cannons. We want to extend our perimeter and begin to expand operations. Now I also want, let's see, let's get a couple more mortars, a few more cannons up, and then once this Terp gets over here, we're going to want to throw urns in these mortars. Okay, now we're beginning to get somewhere. Let's pull you out this way. Grab a couple more of these fresh cannons. And that should protect this enough, once we get them down, to put a pylon about there. You can come out here as well. You can sort of just hang out in the middle. And I do want to get a couple more snipers rolling. I don't want to run low on those. But I also want to get these porters over here now. Let's see. That'll work. Okay. We should not, at this point, have any real problems in terms of defending, and I should be ready to progress more on the attack in a bit. Let's slide up here. And I want a lot of cannons in this area. I'm going to have some mortars. I don't want to run out of snipers, as I mentioned. But I'm really going to be focused in on the cannons. Just because there's some deep, you know, breeder here, but creeper from the breeder, I should say. But for the most part, it's just covering wide areas, really. So let's get another pylon up here. We're going to secure this totem and move on to other things. I do not want a sprayer. I don't have any AC. I could get some by switching over the mines, but why? Pylon out here. Put you out in this direction and see if we can stick one out this way as well. See this mortar, come over here. We do have breeder in those directions, but then let's swing out this way and start picking up this next totem. You can see the overall creeper levels. They're down to just over half what they were to start. So we're doing very well at lowering them. It's hard to lower them beyond a certain point, though, until you actually start knocking out the breeder areas. But first, I want to get operationally up and rolling. By securing all the totems. And then perhaps this sniper should take the journey with us. More cannons. A couple more snipers. And let's be moving down this way now. Regular mortar down that way. A couple more cannons. That should work. You over there. You can be over here. And then we just want to keep this secured until we get the lift stick in place. And now it should start coming. Let's move this sniper out as well. Okay. Now we're going to come back this way. A bunch of you can join us. Sniper as well. And let's see what we're going to have over here. I do want to connect over here now that we should be able to do it, because there isn't much coming this way. There we go. And, yep, there. I just want to make sure that we've got everything up enough so that we can get some of that read on in, because I'm going to want it a little bit later. Okay. Let's slide around. In this particular zone, like, we've got breeder coming this way, breeder this way, and I want to get around to that totem. And this is probably a good building area now. One of the nice things about taking over more space. So you don't have to worry so much about where am I going to build my weapons. Come out this way, and then I'd like to get down there. Let's move some cannons that direction. This sniper is going to be very important. I feel like I left... There it is. I couldn't find my other earned mortar because I want to make sure I at the very least bring them. Let's keep you over here. Make sure we're secure. And I think we want to hook this up now. That should work. So even the smallest drop of creeper can create a very large burst on the breeder. Generation isn't proportional to how much creeper is on it, just is if there is any. It'll breed a nice large batch. So my goal here is to get around, and these cannons should be very useful in that. I just completely cut this off. There is our totem's activation. We're about a quarter of the way on reclaim, virtually nothing on life, and we haven't nullified anything yet, so we have lots of fun that is remaining to be had. More cannons, more snipers. I'm going to throw up another pylon here, make sure all that's connected. Let's jump in here and here. I like that. And this one's now cut off. So, I think maybe we... Well, it was cut off. It will be cut off. We will not allow it to continue to be stopped from being cut off. Let's pylon over this way. That's a good connection. That should work. And you should be able to come with us. Why don't you join the fun? You could go either way, but you're not going to get wrecked up here. Let's come down this way as well. And I sort of want to move around. I want to get rid of all the breeder. And then we'll move up and deal with this mess. But I want the breeder gone first. Not that direction, but these three patches. So we've got one of them done, and we're working our way around the second. Got plenty of weapons. Just got to get them all in position. And I think we need a crossover here now. Let's get a bunch of cannons on this sort of jagged terrain or staggered terrain or whatever it is. That's good. That should be good. And I think this is secure. So let's keep moving on. And we didn't quite connect all of them over here, but we'll slide all of you over. You never guess what we're going to do next. That's right, we're going to build more cannons. Ahem. Cannons. Getting good at selecting mortars when I want cannons. I'm not sure why that is. Perhaps there. And that's a good spot. Let's just move straight across with some of these. I think we've now secured this breeder patch as well. Alright. Now we have another problem. I want to gradually work my way over here. And I'm also, you know, now that we should have, and we're actually not connected, are we? Nope. I want to build a, what do I want to do? I want to cross over this way because I want to get the read-on going for this next little bit. So you can all make that happen. Should be an easy connection. I want to use shields, but of course you cannot shield without ARG. ARG requires read-on, etc. So I'm a little late in getting that rolling, but it shouldn't take long. Meanwhile, let's keep building out this way. Let's have a good amount of these here. And then all of you can hang out over here. Let's bring forward the snipers. Deal with any eggs. And I think I'm going to want some of you over here as well. Yeah, let's not... Okay. Okay, we got a little bit too excited. Let's just back up a bit. You too. Alright. Now this is all good. Okay, we're gonna connect. And that should begin to bring us some read-on in for the shields. Okie dokie. Let's see. I like where we are. What I want to do is build up a little closer. And now the ARG is starting to come in. Let's get this surrounded. Let's move all of you in. And wait for all that to subside. So I want to build the nullifier where it's not on this ground terrain that we're going to have to clear for the life objective later. So I want to have shielding over here for when the egg spawns so that we can cover this nullifier. That's the whole basic idea here. And then I should probably also be continually moving forward these. And I can go after this guy at the same time. Or at least similar. Pop, pop, pop. Yes, 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 we know. But once we nullify this, there will be no more eggs. And then we won't have to worry about it. There it is. Okay. That task is done. Now, I don't even need you anymore. You just get out of the way. Let's throw you down here, somewhere where we're not going to have to worry about you causing problems. Okay, so that's all working. Let's slide you in. A couple of you in here. What's a good place to nullify around here? Yeah, doesn't really seem like any place is better than the others. So we're just going to get a little bit closer. And then we're going to start spreading out. Because we need to get rid of all of the creeper here for reclaim. So let's just throw... You know, nothing else should come here. Throw you there. Now we're going to start marching all the way back. Because we've got these two breeder sides yet to handle over here. Let's get to that. And let's see, you can come up here. Just trying to get somebody in position sort of to just clear out a little bit more of this. We shouldn't need snipers even anymore. We got our nullify objective. All of you can come over here. Really should have sufficient firepower now coming in place. Reclaim is over half. Life hasn't changed much. You can still get some creeper flowing up here that's killing some trees. But we'll deal with all of that later. Of course, you have to have towers up in order for the tree objective to be done. Okay, so now that we're here, we're going to begin moving out this way. And we're going to circumvent this fun pit of creeper. Breeder. Okay, that should work. Maybe down there. And once again, we just want to move across. Grab every angle. Make sure there is no avenue of approach that creeper can take to get into this pit. That'll be good once we get some landing. Oh, and it's going to be too late. Okay. We've got to pound that first. There it is. Next objective. One more of these fun pits of creeper to deal with. Ooh. Didn't quite calculate that out right, did I? So I'm going to pylon across here. Maybe one here. Just start throwing up random, you know, cannons in different areas here. Push forward. We've still got quite a ways to go to get there. Onward. Reclaim now at 70%. And we probably have enough, but I'm going to make sure we do. Just give me some more cannons. And you're a bit low on ammunition. Might as well just do a connection up there. Throw a couple of these here. Wouldn't hurt to have this going on. And you can come up, well, okay. Fine, you don't like that. We'll get you taken care of. Don't you even worry about that. And now approaching our breeder target. Let's grab a bunch of these. And we're going to clean up this mess. So there's only so much creeper in this area. Once we are able to pound it, there's nowhere else for it to really flow from. And I think that's it. So what do we do at this point? Well, we've got to clean up the last little bits to get reclaim, and then for life, I need to cover this entire map in Soylent. Or at least most of it, all these places where there's dead trees, and get as many of those online as we can. We don't need all of them, but we do need quite a few. So I've jumped ahead a bit here just because watching somebody spam towers all over the map is probably not the single most entertaining thing in the history of video. So now we've got all of these building because we need to cover everything in Soylent to get our trees. And you can see it's gradually going up. And we did actually have a couple eggs over here. So we're just going to finish up this area. You can see the reclaim 98%. And there's only little bits left. You really do have to get that to 100. So we're going to do that for a bit. And just see what happens here. Bring all of you over. And you can see our life meter going rapidly up. But I wanted to also talk a bit about sort of the plot of Creeper World and where we are going forward. And I was listening to some of the comments that people made on Discord or something awful or on the videos. And I do agree with the statements that have been made that I think this is real. We're not in a virtual world here. You know, all of the founders, including Danu, who is now basically an AI construct, or however you want to think of that, a virtual being, a virtual consciousness after she died, they're going off on this journey. But the problem is, it doesn't match the quest. The quest was to go seed worlds with infocaches. It was not to restore them to life. It doesn't matter how much faster the next civilization arrives. What matters is whether there's infocaches, you know, with the knowledge of advanced humanity. By the way, we never discovered what all was in those for the most part. Okay, reclaim is charging, and you can see the trees are continuing to build. But there's nothing in this map about infocache. You could have just had a small custom unit and placed it somewhere. And all of this stuff about needing to grow all the trees, it doesn't accomplish anything in relation to that plot. So that just... I think ultimately that's sort of the thing that bothers me the most about Creeper World. Like, I've heard that good storytelling, one way of looking at it is you think of a interesting, plausible proposition, something that's slightly different from reality. The smaller the difference, the better. There's our reclaim. And, you know, the tree is gradually growing. But then you ask, okay, for this thing to be true, that's not really true in real life, so we're creating a fictional universe, what other interesting things have to be true? You know, what else would that change in the universe? And then you just keep on going forward and forward with that idea. Well, Creeper World almost seems like it says, okay, so we've got an interesting premise. I think the idea of the continual cycle of creeper destruction, humanity, you know, rebuilding and then getting destroyed, I mean, it's not the greatest idea ever. It's been that similar things have been done in science fiction many times, of course, but it's not a bad idea for a game or for a narrative. You know, I don't think that Creeper World is built on sand or anything like that. But they say, okay, for this interesting thing to be true, what other irrelevant metaphysical hooey can we shoo into this that will confuse the player and, you know, basically convolute things? If it would obey its own internal rules, at least for the most part, I'd be fine with it. But, you know, the way I look at it doesn't really do that. So, anyway, that's enough about the plot. The various, you know, contradictions within it just make my brain hurt. And Creeper World, as I've said before, in my opinion, it's about the gameplay. The reason I'm destroying all this stuff, by the way, is because it can be sitting on top of trees. And so we need to get all the way. And I want to thank, you know, one of the testers and a long-time source of information on this game, Regalian, who pointed out that you can have up to 150 dead trees. And you can see them by the visibility here. Each one of these little spikes is a place where there's a dead tree. You can have up to 150 of them, almost out of over 3,000, or almost 3,000 rather, 2,800 and change on the map. So you have to get 95% of the trees alive in order for this to happen. And people have thought, oh, you got to go pixel hunting and move all this little stuff. No, you just got to wait for them all to grow. You can see I'm not doing anything and it's still going up. It just takes a while for them to grow on all of these tiles. So going forward with Creeper World, as I mentioned, after this map, I'm going to be taking a break. But I will be coming back, you know, with at least, hopefully, something every week or close to that for the game. I'm curious what you would like to see me do next. Would you prefer it if I did stuff like reviews, you know, hints and tips videos where I gather up a bunch of information in one post as opposed to the stuff that's spread out in all these gameplay videos and various mechanics that are perhaps undocumented or that people have missed, or little tricks in the game. You know, I could do those types of things. I could go to span experiments. There we go, we're done. I could go to the Mark V randomly generated missions. I could go to the Chronom randomly generated missions. People can put in suggestions for missions I could do from the colonies. And I plan on getting to all those things, but I'm just curious, what would you like to see the most? What are you interested in having me doing with the game? And then meanwhile, if you're primarily a fan of one of the other series, I'll be getting back to those next as I take my break from Creeper World. So this was Ever After. This was the conclusion of the Farsite Expedition. I hope it was enjoyable. And thanks for watching, everyone.